So now we finally come to the main event you've all been waiting for, React. And here's what we are not going to do. So we are not going to take all of our Blaze code and throw it away and then just start from scratch with React. Why? Because when you do this, well, it often happens that you need to fix something else in the rest of the app, and now you need to go back to the old Blaze version to fix it, but now you have two branches and you're not sure where to fix new things and add new features, so the whole thing becomes very disorganized and just a whole mess. So instead, we're going to find the simplest, smallest piece of the app that we can convert to React, and then switch this out for a React version while keeping the rest of the app intact, working with Blaze. So for a while, we'll have both React and Blaze in the same app, but the idea is eventually we'll transition to just React. And I looked throughout the app for the simplest thing I could work on to start with, and I found this little tweet widget here. All it does is you click and it opens up a Twitter window. It's super simple. It doesn't require any data. It doesn't use routing or anything. It's self-contained, so I think it's a good candidate to start with React. So let me work on this, and hopefully once I'm done, we'll have our first bit of React in our app. So here we are, and it doesn't look like anything's changed. I can tweet, still works just like before, but behind the scenes, this thing is React. We have React. The best way to check this is to open up the developer tool, and there's a React inspector thing you can install, and if I click that, my React component will show up here, and I can even inspect its props, which is the React equivalent of the Blaze data context, and I can see that I'm correctly passing the current chapter, as props to the component. So how did I do this? Well, the first thing you need to do is add the React package. So if you just add React to your app, it will add a bundle that gives you React itself, JSX, and then a mixin to use Meteor data inside your React components. So that's the first thing you need to do. And then there's if you check the React in Meteor guide, which is kind of a unofficial / official React guide. I'm not sure how well known it is, but it's actually very useful. So if you check that guide, it has a section about React components in Meteor templates, and it mentions the React template helper package. Sorry, so that's what I used. You can also find it on Atmosphere, React template helper. So once we have these two things, we're ready to write some React. So here's the component. So the first thing to notice is that unlike Blaze, where you kind of have your template file and then your logic files are separate, in React, everything is in the same one. So in this case, I created a new React folder, inside it a components folder, and then I called my component shareprogress.jsx. So JSX is the React file format, which lets you mix HTML inside your JavaScript code. And it's actually pretty handy, like once you get used to it. Obviously, there's this whole debate about, oh, we should keep HTML out of JavaScript, but let's not get into that right now. So as you can see, there's a tiny bit of logic in this component. So if we go back to the app here, you can see it says you've completed chapter 1. And now if I go to another chapter, it will say something else. You've vanquished chapter 9. You've gone through what else is there? you've put to bed. Yeah, at the end here I was running out of ideas, as you can probably tell, but the idea is people won't tweet the same message like 14 times, right? So you have to change it, and that's basically what this little bit of code does. So when we generate the actual markup, we have a few placeholders for, the verb that changes, the number of the chapter, the title of the chapter. So the first thing to notice is the props here. As I said, it's the equivalent of the data context, and we pass it using the React template helper, so the package I mentioned earlier. In this case, chapters equal this. This is the data context of the whole thing, of the whole template, which is the chapter. And a tiny thing to pay attention to is that you can't just put in the name of the component, because that name is not present inside Spacebar's templates. So you have to define a helper that returns the component. So once you've done that, it should include your component. Other things to pay attention to, in your Spacebar's code, you'll have class equals, just like in regular HTML. In JSX, this becomes class name because class is a reserved JavaScript keyword. Another thing that tripped me up is I had something like this, like href equals tweet URL. So you remove the one set of curly braces to go from Spacebars to JSX, but then you also need to remove the quotes because JSX rather can't parse code inside quotes, like mentioned in this Stack Overflow question. So, whoops, sorry. Yeah, what else was there? Yeah, so you might see that I'm using a tiny bit of ES 2015 syntax here. So this is just a shortcut, which is equivalent to saying that. I'm now going full 2015 with like modules and stuff right now because it's not supported out of the box in Meteor, at least as of 1.2, but by the time we get further along in this series, hopefully it will be, and we can start looking into that as well. So, I mean, yeah, nothing very complex. You just need to know what to do and then do it, and it works. So, React, here we come.